now got 20 municipalities all across the Commonwealth of Kentucky that have the same type of fairness ordinance that Louisville has.
Head of the Fairness Campaign reacting today to the decision that could have far-reaching impacts in the state of Kentucky. Louisville wedding photographer has won her federal lawsuit, at least for now, saying the city's Fairness Ordinance violates her constitutional rights. This is a story and a controversy we've been following since she filed the lawsuit in 2019. And tonight, Louisville photographer Chelsey Nelson is speaking for the first time in 3 years.
She claimed the local law would force her to photograph and blog in favor of same-sex weddings, saying it goes against her religious beliefs. WHAS 11's Isaiah Kim Martinez joins us right now to share reactions and why the legal process could likely continue. Isaiah.
Well, guys, this is a ruling that Chelsey Nelson has waited nearly 3 years for. Long time coming for her, but it's also one the Fairness Campaign says puts a nearly 25-year precedent in danger. Ultimately, the ruling still has to be upheld after what will likely be an appeal by the city. In the order, the federal judge writes that a provision of Louisville's Fairness Ordinance does infringe upon Chelsey Nelson's freedom of religion, supporting her claim. He also says the city may not compel Nelson to photograph same-sex wedding ceremonies as part of her business. It's a decision that's caused long-awaited relief for some.
It's a just ruling. And we're just excited to move forward.
And major concern for others.
I believe that the city of Louisville is going to appeal this case. They should absolutely appeal this case.
It's a controversial case we followed for nearly 3 years. In that time, Nelson has received major backlash in the form of hundreds upon hundreds of comments on social media.
Now I'm free to have statements on my website about the work that I'm able and willing to do. The messages that I can communicate.
Her attorney John Scruggs from Alliance Defending Freedom says this all circles around freedom of speech.
And no one should be forced to say what they don't believe in. And the court said that loudly and clearly.
Meanwhile, Chris Hartman, executive director of the Fairness Campaign, says the ruling takes direct aim at civil rights for everyone.
We don't want to see any parts of the Fairness Ordinance not be able to be enforced.
The city's Fairness Ordinance has been around for nearly 25 years. Hartman worries about the precedent this ruling sets and where the line is drawn.
I mean, at what point does it stop? Will photographers be able to put on their website that they won't photograph interracial marriages?
In a statement, Mayor Greg Fisher says they'll likely appeal the decision. He writes, quote, Louisville Metro government will continue to enforce to the fullest extent possible its ordinance prohibiting anti-discriminatory practices and will fight against discrimination in any form, end quote. Meanwhile, Nelson believes this is a win for all creative business owners.
Whether or not they align with my beliefs or have very, very different views from what I believe in.
And no word yet on when the city will choose whether to appeal, but U of L law professor Sam Markison tells me if this ruling does stand, the precedent will depend on the next case that follows it and how broad courts allow businesses to be on claims for exemption. Doug.
Isaiah, thank you. Some history here for you. The Fairness Ordinance had already been in place for nearly 25 years when Nelson filed her lawsuit. Back then, the council was known as the Louisville Board of Aldermen, and they passed that ordinance in 1999, protecting the LGBTQ community from discrimination in areas of employment, housing, and public accommodations. The same year, Lexington did the same with the Fairness Ordinance. Now, 24 different cities across Kentucky have adopted a Fairness Ordinance.